You can picture it, the gondolas bobbing on the canals, the narrow bridges, the crowded cobble streets, the art. I'm talking, of course, about Venice, Venezia, Italy's famous floating city, where many of the world's richest, and according to some most glamorous people, have descended this week for the nuptials of Amazon founder and billionaire Jeff Bezos and former TV journalist Lauren Sanchez. It's been described as a wedding in 3 acts. But for the locals, it's more like theatre of the grotesque. The couple will exchange vows later today in San Giorgio Maggiore, a 16th century basilica on the island of the same name. But they've been forced to relocate their reception in the face of fierce opposition and the threat of protests by locals. Here's one local councillor, Marco Gasparnetti, speaking to Sally on Breakfast earlier this week.
Venice invented tourism in the 19th century. We were the first city in the world to decide that tourism would be a good source of income. The problem is when it is too much. It's like sugar in the coffee. If you put 1 spoon of sugar, the coffee will be fine. If you put 3, 4, 5, when you end up having 10 spoons of sugar in your cup of coffee, it may not be a cup of coffee. It is something else.
Something else entirely. Well, Matteo Secchi is the co-founder and leader of a Venetian residents activist group, Venecia.com. Matteo, welcome to the Radio National Hour.
Good morning.
Matteo,
nice to hear from you.
Yes, lovely to have you. Matteo, you're a real-life Venetian. You've lived there for most of your life. I'm guessing that you, of all people, can understand why someone would choose Venice as their wedding destination.
For first, I think Venice doesn't need a spot like the wedding of Bezos. Anyway, my position is in the middle between the no Bezos and the pro Bezos, because I think Venice must accept everybody. And everybody means the poor people, but also the rich people. So if Bezos likes to enjoy his wedding in Venice, I accept. I don't like the selling of the city to who offer a lot of money.
Okay, because we heard the city councillor there, Marco Gasparnetti, he compared earlier in the week, he compared this Bezos wedding to the Venice wedding of George Clooney and Amal Alamuddin, and it wasn't a favourable comparison. Why are George and Amal okay, but Jeff and Lauren not so okay? Why is this wedding different?
I remember very well the wedding of George Clooney. It was 2014, I remember. Because the wedding of George Clooney was easy, not a big show like this. It's 1 month the media's talking about this wedding. Believe me, I'm tired. I'm tired because every day I read I read and watch the news, and we talk about Bezos only. In 2014. For 1 day, everything is special. Some canals and streets are blocked just a little bit, and nothing else.
Okay.
Now, so with Bezos, it's mamma mia.
With this wedding, the Bezos wedding, the happy couple cruised into Venice on the world's largest sailing yacht, I understand, and the guests are arriving in style too. There's more than 90 private jets expected to land at the airport. But is it the numbers? I mean, I'm sure Venice can cope with the arrival of 250 high net worth tourists. So what is it that people are actually not liking about much? Is it the size of the wedding and the entourage? Or is it the display of wealth? Why aren't people happy?
We don't like the big show. Then yesterday, I remember my ex-wife was blocked to going to to her job because the canal close to the private party of Bezos was blocked. If the city is under the orders of the organizers of this wedding, this is the point we don't like.
You're listening to the Radio National Hour. My guest is Matteo Secchi. Matteo is the co-founder of a group called Venecia.com, which is a residents activist group in Venice. Overcrowding of Venice has been a problem for a long time, Matteo. Yeah. For many years we've been talking about it. One of the things that your group does is run a tally of the number of permanent residents in Venice. And according to your website, it's now down to just over 48,000 locals. That's from a population of over 120,000 just 20 or so years ago. Why are the locals leaving Venice?
Venice was the third most populated city in the Middle Age after Paris and Naples. And Venice was a city in the 1950s with 175,000 inhabitants. Now we are only 48. In the last 20 years, the overtourism put the end of the Venice population. And so, in Venice right now, the life is still good because I love the life in Venice without cars, face by face every day. We are every day less and there's every day more tourists. So sometimes I feel like a stranger. And so there's every day less services for us because the commerce is pro-tourist. And so every day there's less bakeries, there's less groceries for us.
For anyone who's never been to Venice or hasn't been there for a long time, I haven't been there for nearly 20 years, what's it like these days? And I'm not talking about the beauty, the architecture, the canals. It's a magnificent city, and that's what draws everybody. But what's it like around the streets or out in San Marco Square, for example? How packed is it with tourists?
So our problem is we are all together, tourists and inhabitants, in the same spaces in the same time. And this is a big problem for us to enjoy our normal life. San Marco Square, for example, we don't go anymore. A million Venetian doesn't go there, just passing away because it's a tourist territory. It's strange, but it's true.
Lots of the tourists come for the day. Venice, a few years ago, I remember doing a story where Venice put a ban on the cruise ships, the large cruise ships coming down the canal. But nevertheless, the tourists come on these day tours. Last year, the government introduced an entrance fee for day trippers. But your group, I think, objected to that. Why didn't you like that idea?
Of course, we are not agree with the tourist fee for two reasons. For first, Venice is a city and not a park. The ticket for the entrance is only for the parks, like Disneyland. So we are a city. And for the second reason, the target for this fee was to reduce the number of the tourists. But we had no reduction with this ticket, so it doesn't work. Maybe your next question is, what do you propose?
Yeah, exactly. What are you proposing, Matteo?
Yes, of course, because we like to protest, but we like to propose too. Allora, for us, the only way to stop this ocean of people is simply to stop the entrance of Venice when in some days, not every day, some days there's too many people in Venice. We have to decide a maximum capacity number for the city every day, for example, 100,000. When the number goes up, you just close the entrance. And this fact already happened in 1989 with the Pink Floyd concert, when there was 300,000 people in the city, so very dangerous, and so the police and the authorities closed the entrance. I remember at 4 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, now I don't remember very well. And so this is the only way to stop the big numbers. Everybody think we don't like the tourists. We like the tourists. We don't like too many tourists.
My guest is Matteo Secchi. He's a resident of Venice, and they like the tourists, his action group, but they don't like too many tourists. Do you think, Matteo, that if you reduce the number of tourists and you make Venice less like a theme park, then young people and families will return to Venice to actually live there? And are there attempts being made to encourage that?
As I told you, the life in Venice is very good. So in Venice right now, there's a lot of people, believe me, born in the other countries, in the other cities, decided to live in Venice because it's a very special life. Mm-hmm. I would like to have more inhabitants in Venice, but the authorities, the politicians must study the conditions to encourage the repopulation of Venice. In Venice, there's a lot of empty houses, private houses and public houses. I think we have 2,000 empty houses in Venice. Think about to make a plan to take care of these houses and give these houses to new families. This is a dream, but it's possible.
Why are the houses empty?
For the 2 reasons. The private houses are empty because the owners of the houses take the houses like the stock exchange. For example, I buy a house at 100. I just leave the house empty, and then after 5 years I sell the house at 120, and I earn 20. The house is an investment for the privates. And so you can find a solution to drive the owners to take the houses and give these houses to the families. But it's a long explanation, we have no time. And then there's the public houses. And this is very bad because, we need the money to make a restoration of these houses. Use the mayor of Venice is going to build a new stadium outside Venice in the mainland for the soccer. But don't make the stadium, put the money to the houses. First houses and after the stadium.
The question at the heart of all of this, Matteo, is what makes a city a home? What makes it a living thing and not just a theatre set, a backdrop? What do you think is the answer to that?
A city without citizens is a city without soul. Now we are Disneyland, but the next step is much worse because we are going to be like Pompeii, like Machu Picchu. A wonderful city you visit with beautiful stones, but without soul. And so I think not only Venice, but also the other cities must keep the culture of a place. Because I don't want to live in a world in every city I got the same culture. If I decided to go to Sydney or to Barcelona or to Berlin, I want to live the local culture. This is one of the reasons because I go to that city, not only for the monuments.
Matteo, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for calling me. When you need something in Venice, contact me.
Absolutely, we will. I will. Matteo Secchi is the co-founder and leader of a Venetian residence activist group called Venecia.com, and as you can see, he's a real true blue local.